They called it Ghost Ship 245, but no one outside a tight circle at the U.S. Navy ever knew why. It didn't carry a name, only a code, and it didn't leave from a known port. This wasn't a ship meant to be remembered, it was built to disappear. In the middle of 1943, while most of the world was watching the Battle of the Atlantic or the Pacific Theater unfold, a new vessel was quietly slid into the water from a restricted dry dock in New Jersey. It was matte black from bow to stern, with no national flags, no identifying numbers, and no paperwork that even acknowledged its existence. What it carried would change the outcome of the war, and barely anyone alive today knows it ever sailed. But here's the shocking part. The men who served on it weren't told what they were protecting until weeks into their journey. And when they finally found out, some of them wanted off immediately. You're probably thinking, how can a whole ship be erased from history? The truth lies in what it carried. Not tanks, not troops, but technology so advanced for the time, it bordered on science fiction. And it wasn't American. It was stolen German engineering specifically. Something the Nazis were developing under top secrecy, an early prototype of magnetic guidance systems technology that would later inspire ballistic missile systems and even modern satellites. The U.S. didn't just capture it, they reverse engineered it. But the only way to transport it across oceans without it falling into Axis hands again was aboard Ghost Ship 245. The mission was clear. Avoid every shipping lane. Sail without lights. Radio silence, even in storms. Orders were handwritten and burned after reading. And they didn't even tell the captain the full route until 48 hours before departure. Now here's where it gets wild. Midway through the Atlantic, the crew noticed something strange. They were being followed. Not by a submarine, but by a ship that shouldn't have been there. An Italian vessel, supposedly sunk months ago, was tailing them without ever making contact. Every man on board swore they saw it. But when they turned around on day 4, it had vanished. One sailor, Seaman Douglas Grant, wrote in his private journal, "I believe we are carrying more than equipment. There is fear on this ship. The kind that wraps around your lungs and won't let go." That journal was discovered in a storage locker in Ohio in 2003. Until then, no one had ever heard of Ghost Ship 245. But it gets crazier. After docking in a classified military port near Portsmouth, Virginia, the ship was immediately dismantled, every bolt, every wire scrapped under direct orders. The crew was discharged, scattered across states, and ordered never to speak of the voyage again. Some were reassigned. Some simply disappeared. And one officer? He was committed to a military hospital just 2 weeks later, suffering what doctors called synthetic memory trauma. His files were sealed. What happened on that ship has never been fully declassified. As the ship vanished deeper into the Pacific, even the men aboard didn't know everything it was carrying. The USS Mount Olympus wasn't built for combat, it was built for silence. Codenamed Ghost Courier by a handful of intelligence officers, the vessel operated in shadows so deep, most senior Navy personnel didn't even have access to her full manifest. Beneath the deck, surrounded by layers of steel and guarded hallways, sat one of the most critical wartime secrets: advanced communication, intercept systems that could decode enemy transmissions in near real time. But it wasn't just code-breaking equipment. Hidden behind thick bulkheads was a chamber housing a miniature war room, complete with live intelligence feeds from the Pacific, Atlantic, and even European fronts. The goal? To make this ship a floating nerve center for America's entire global response. Now here's the twist most people never hear. The Mount Olympus didn't just relay intel, it actively altered it. Some decrypted German or Japanese messages were slightly tweaked before being passed on to Allied commanders, subtly manipulating battlefield decisions to benefit American interests, even sometimes at the cost of British or French strategies. Why? Because post-war influence had already started. The ship wasn't just shaping battles, it was shaping geopolitics. And yet, even this wasn't the full extent of its secret. In late 1944, the Mount Olympus took on a cargo no one on board was authorized to open. The crates, sealed with triple-coated locks and stamped Black Sun, Directive 71, were said to contain experimental Axis technology, some of it allegedly captured from Nazi scientists in remote Austrian bunkers. According to a declassified memo discovered decades later, one crate held early designs of what would later be dubbed the Scrambler Beam, a prototype energy weapon so advanced it sparked panic among physicists. What made things even more bizarre was that the ship was never scheduled for that route. The Olympus had diverted course from its Pacific Theater route and entered restricted waters near Antarctica for 72 hours. To this day, no one knows what happened during that detour. Official records show nothing. Not a single entry, transmission, or coordinate was logged. The ship returned on a slightly different heading, its crew visibly disturbed, but sworn into silence. By war's end, the Mount Olympus had logged over 90,000 nautical miles, yet barely a trace of her operations made it into public records. She never received commendations. No medals, no ceremonies. No decommissioning party. She was towed into a restricted Navy dry dock in late 1946 and quietly scrapped 2 years later, except there's no scrap record in the Department of Naval Logistics. Just a blacked-out file and one chilling handwritten note from a rear admiral. If Olympus speaks, the Cold War starts early. That ship, silent, secret, and shrouded in mystery, may have done more to shape the post-war world than any bomb ever dropped. So the next time you hear about the big battles of WW2, remember, sometimes the most powerful weapons never fired a shot. Like this story? Don't let it vanish like the Olympus. Hit that like button, share with fellow history hunters, and subscribe, because the secrets of World War II are far from over.